I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Fear sells, who's buying? This guy is for sure, if I can. I want to walk you guys through a sale that I recently saw April 24th that sold. One-bedroom condo in Mount Pleasant, Olympic Village area. And of course, you know, with everything that's been going on with the COVID shutdown, I have seen a couple of what I consider to be very good buys on the buying side. The seller has undersold, obviously, because they were spooked. Nothing, you know, that's all it must be when I'm going to go through what this unit just sold for here. And it sold at the height of the darkest days in the COVID-19 lockdown, as I'm going to show you. So occasionally these type of deals are out there, and I tell you, I'm on the lookout for these. I sure wish I would have had a buyer for this unit. I tell you, if I would have known that this unit would have sold at this price when they first listed this thing at this crazy price I'm going to show you, I would have bought it all day. I would have bought it sight unseen at this price and would have given them a bank draft with the offer. That's the crazy buy that this one was. But hey, that's what fear does. Fear makes some people, because this is really an anomaly that I'm going to show you here. This is really the only one I've been able to blog about here over the last 6 weeks. There's a few others that I thought, hey, those were well bought. Seller sold that too cheap over the lockdown period, because again, for the most part, as I blogged about last month, you really had no business being on the market here the last 6 weeks. Now, I don't know everyone's circumstances. There are definitely going to be some people that have to sell. They're desperate. And when you've been listed over the last 6 weeks during the height of this lockdown, we're much better now. We're now into late May. Market's completely different now. But if you were listing back here in late March and April, then it was screaming of, hey, I gotta sell. And this is the result that you get. Now, I don't know everyone's circumstances. I'm not blaming the realtor on this being undersold. He's taking the advice from his seller. And this seller, I'm going to go through in a minute here, was definitely spooked. He was absolutely frightened and hiding under his bed to sell it at this. So let me give you the synopsis here quickly. And again, this is the only real prime example of the fear sells here. There was a few others, but this is the best by far. This is a prime building, prime unit in the Olympic Village area. It's not right in the village. It's one of the peripheral ones. I'm not going to give you the address here because I don't want to go through all the details here with it. But it is a 2-year-old building, Mount Pleasant. I have sold in this building, this strata before. It's good. It's one of my favorite buildings. If something comes up, it's always on my hit list. 2 years old. They listed this unit March 14th for $788,000. It's a 1-bed, 1-bath with parking, nice finishings, high floor. It's got everything going for it. I love this building, and this is a good unit. Listed for $78 March 14th. Okay, so in March 14th, I had 4 sales in early March. The market was good, but I can tell you around the 14th, 15th is when things started to turn and the dark clouds really started to form. By March 18th, Dr. Henry was out and people were basically starting to tell people to shelter in place. Stay home, don't go out, no open houses. The market dropped dramatically around the 20th of March. So 5 days after this guy listed it. They should have taken this off the market, but hey, I don't know the circumstances here. Obviously, the seller wanted to go through and needed to sell. The seller here is a corporation, and I'll get to you in a minute what they bought it for back when they bought it pre-sale and everything else. So who knows? Maybe this unit was a short-term furnished rental. We don't know. It was vacant and owned by a corporation on the MLS here. Listed it for $788. Market basically 80%, 90% of the traffic dropped off a week after they listed it. I would have recommended, unless this seller was absolutely desperate to sell here, which obviously they were, take it off the market for 4 weeks. We're not talking 6 months. Just take it off the market for 4 or 5 weeks until the state of emergency is maybe lifted or we get a little more clarity back on what's going on here. They let it go at $788. On April 16th, which are very dark days. I mean, God, stock market was getting beaten up. Nobody was out looking at condos. They didn't want to go in an elevator. They didn't want to go in a lobby. Nobody was out. 80 to 90% of the foot traffic on people looking was gone. They reduced it to $699. 8 days later, this unit sold for $640. It sold on April 24th. Still dark, dark days. So this seller obviously was very spooked. He thought the world was going to collapse. He'd been watching too much Bloomberg, had been reading too much New York Times, had been watching way too much CNN, that we're all going to die. We're going to be on lockdown until 2021. The economy is going to crash. Everyone's going to go bankrupt. We're all going to be in bread lines and everything else. He bought it hook, line, and sinker. He must have. Started at $788, sold for $640 on April 24th in the darkest of dark days. Now, I can tell you 100%, these units exactly like this in early March and February were selling in the low 700s. 715, 720, most of them were selling for multiple offers. I can tell you that if this unit was listed today, we're late May here, I could list it, do holdbacks on it for a week. I'm very certain I could get something close to $700,000 for this. And that's still about $20K below what some of the recent comps had sold for back in March and February. So this seller, in my opinion, and again, I don't know the whole story with the seller, who knows? Maybe he had other financial issues with other things and needed the money fast, told his realtor, we got to sell this thing now. Because I think any realtor would say, hey, maybe just take it off the market for 4 weeks. We're not asking for 4 months, 4 weeks. So he left about $60K on the market, on the table here. And I think this seller, will look back on this in some of the sales that are going to happen in the summer. And he's going to see that, hey, these units are selling back up at $700K. 5 years from now, this $640 is going to look like an absolute bargain. Absolutely. So this was a fear sells thing here. I wish I was the buyer on this. This was very well bought, this unit. I think that's it, though. We'll have to see what goes forward here. I mean, I've been keeping a close eye on this. I'm working with some buyers right now. I sure wish I had this last month. I had a buyer for this because I would have bought it. That's kind of the way these windows of fear go. I don't know if we'll ever revisit one like this, because this was sold April 24th, listed March 14th, reduced April 16th. Couldn't get worse timing than that. It was the darkest of dark times. It's the same thing in the stock market. If you're watching following me on Twitter, all through late March and early April, I was giving you some of the stocks that I was buying. I was picking up shares in Facebook. And McCormick, Disney, I bought at $80 a share, and it's up $30. There were some, in hindsight now, compared to the prices today, where they're up 20 and 30 and 40%, were an absolute bargain. But it's tough to pull the trigger when you've got those dark clouds 4 and 5 weeks ago. In some cases, it's the same thing here. The buyer here was taking a bit of a leap of faith. He bought this thing in the darkest of dark times, where the Dow was dropping 1,500 points a day and the end was near. And the day of reckoning is coming, and every article in Bloomberg and the Vancouver Sun is painting a picture that you should get out now. Usually in hindsight, when you look back at that, it's almost always overblown. And in this case, it was. $640K. That units coming up this summer are going to sell close to $700. I'm quite sure of it. But hey, this is what happens when you buy into the fear sometimes. And again, I don't know all the circumstances with this seller, but this was well bought. Give you one other one quick here. I was on the buying side on this one, had a sale last week. I wouldn't say it's nearly as fearful as this one, but I blogged about this before, how when brand new buildings, brand new towers get occupancy, they can be a tremendous buying window, because the take occupancy, and this is a 285 unit, 2-month-old tower, high-end tower in Brentwood. Currently, as of last week, 22 listings on the MLS. So they've all gotten occupancy at the same time. These people bought pre-sale 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and had no intention of living in them. Now they're selling them. Now you've got a glut of listings. Throw in the COVID-19 lockdown and everything else, and you've got some panic. It's a recipe for some panic sellers. So I was representing the buyer on this. I think we got a tremendous deal. This is a brand new high floor unit with parking, with storage, 2 storage lockers, luxury finishings, incredible views. It's on the 37th floor for $505,000. The seller pays the second GST, because I've blogged about it here many times how CRA is double dipping on the GST now. If you sell a pre-sale or sell a condo in short order in less than a year and have never lived in it, there's a second set of GST, 5% GST payable on that. We wrote in the contract that the seller would pay for that. So it was $505 all in. Very good buy. And I still see some more of these out there right now. Some of these brand new towers in places like Brentwood, Lougheed, where there's a glut of listings, they just got occupancy, they can be tremendous buying opportunities. Come in low, negotiate it, but for sure, there's always going to be panic out there. When you have a glut of listings like that, it's already got a lot of pressure on the seller. When you throw in the whole COVID thing and the world's collapsing, it adds a whole nother layer to the fear. So pretty good buying opportunity there. Back to this other one, just to tell you this one in Mount Pleasant that sold for $640. Hey, the guy still did okay. He bought that unit pre-sale, took possession in 2016. So he would have bought that, I believe, in 2014. So he bought it quite a while ago. Paid $458K. So sold it for $640. So he still made, after commissions and everything else, maybe $150K on it. So still not too bad. That's what real estate does in Vancouver. When you buy a good quality building like this one was, good location, good developer, you still make some good money on it. But I do think he left at least $50K on the table. But again, I don't know all the circumstances, but what I can say is this one was a fear sells. I would love to see some more of these, and maybe we will later this summer. I kind of think, though, we're not, only because the fear now has dissipated a great deal now that we're into late May. Back in April and March when they listed this, the fear index was super high. Now the fear index is a fraction of that. We're opening things up again. Traffic through showings is up substantially, and I have not seen a fire sale like this yet. But who knows going forward? I'm on the lookout for them, and I'll keep you posted if I see any more. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, see you next week.